I didn't ever think I wanted to be a teacher. How many of you, when you were little, played with dolls and lined them all up? All the boys were raising their hand. Took attendance, made little grade books. I know you did. I know, look, think. Somebody's giving me something. I know you did. I did not do this. My friends did, my sisters did, my brother even did. And I did not. Because I was going to be a surgeon. My nickname when I was 8 was Doc, all the way through. I read medical journals, believe it or not. I made my parents get me Scientific American when I was like in 8th grade. I couldn't really understand the articles. I just thought it made me look very smart to carry it around. I did not look any other way besides this. I watched everything I could watch on TV that had to do with medicine. And back then in the day, it wasn't that much. We had like 3 channels when I was little. I'm old. So, but I did everything that I could to think about going into medicine. And I was an excellent student. I studied. I was one of these kids that really studied in high school. A lot of folks say, oh, I never really studied until I got to college. I had to study in high school. I think I was bright, but I think I had more tenacity and persistence than maybe brains. Because I worked really hard and I studied hard. I went to school in the druggy 70s when all of my friends were surfing. I grew up at the beach and we didn't have a mandatory attendance policy and they were out surfing and doing whatever they were doing and I was going to class and studying, even on senior skip day. Is there such a thing anymore? Senior skip day, I was in calculus taking a quiz because I didn't want to take the chance of getting a 0. I was this kind of student. I still was kind of fun, but I was determined as the oldest of 5 that I was going to get a scholarship to school because my parents couldn't afford for me to go. So if I graduated top of my class, which I did, graduated valedictorian of 880 seniors at my high school, not because I was so brilliant, but because I worked hard. Remember, a bunch of kids didn't go to school. So I got help, assistance, to go to the University of Virginia. That's where I did my undergraduate work. Has anyone been to Charlottesville? Exquisite, beautiful. Anyone interested in applying to University of Virginia? It's magnificent. It's a magnificent education, a gorgeous school. Definitely a place I think you should visit. I think that it has amazing opportunities, but I do feel, since I've been at ACT, like I missed out on some things, like knowing professors, or professors knowing me. In 4 years, I didn't have a professor know my name, but I was pre-med, and I was getting excellent grades in school. Why wouldn't I have? I was a good studier. I never missed a class. I made sure that I did everything I was supposed to do. Junior year, I have a 3.8 grade point average, studying for MCATs. In a sorority, have mandatory community service with my sorority. Mandatory community service. So what do? I want to go to the high school and I want to tutor kids in biology and chemistry. Because I figured that they needed somebody to help them with their mandatory tests. So I started going to tutoring. And I started going to tutoring, and I started going to tutoring. I was supposed to go twice a week, I was there 5 days a week. After that, I said, I think I really want to do this teaching thing. My father said, are you crazy? Are you crazy? He tried to talk me out of it, my teachers tried to talk me out of it, my youth minister tried to talk me out of it, my friends tried to talk me out of it, and when someone is tenacious and persistent, that is the worst thing to do, is to try to talk them out of something, because it forged my desire even more. So I said to my dad, okay, if I finish my pre-med curriculum, because by the way, you can major in architecture and do pre-med, do you guys know that? You can major in anything, you don't have to be a biology major. I was a biology major. I said, well, if I go to the education portion and I just go to summer school, I can still graduate in time with my class. So it worked. I still took my MCATs. I promised my dad they were good for 5 years. If this teaching thing didn't work out, that I would try to go to med school, but I could be one doctor or I could inspire legions of them. And that sounds pretty dramatic, but let me just tell you that in 25 years of teaching, there have been hundreds and hundreds of my students that have kept in touch with me and are now in the medical field, or in Peace Corps, or doing missionary work, or doing whatever else all around in science fields, a lot of them. Some of them even have come to ABB to get transcripts then as grown-ups that are now going back to school after they've raised their kids and say, Miss Beasley, what are you doing here? I fell in love with biology in 10th grade when I was in your class. So that was my decision to do that. I've flown all over the country for med school graduations. So that was my decision that that's what I wanted to do. Now, why does everybody try to talk you out of it?
Not enough pay.
Not enough pay. That was one of the things. You're never going to make anything. Okay, I don't have really a lot of material wants and needs, so as long as I could pay a mortgage and have an okay car, I was fine with that. But there's lots of other ways to get paid, and I think that's what folks don't realize. When those kids get it, when you have been working and working with someone and lights go off, this may not have happened to you because you're pretty bright or you wouldn't be here, but when you see somebody struggle and struggle and struggle, and it may happen to you, it hit me in organic chemistry, just so you know. I had a 42 average and dropped it the first time I took it, and decided to regroup and take it again the next year. But it may happen to you, but when you see someone try and fail, pretty soon they quit trying. Because it's easier just to not try and fail until you have somebody that believes in you when you don't believe in yourself. How many of you had teachers like that? Remember them? Remember them by name? Do you remember specific verbatim things they've told you? A lot of times I talk to folks that want to be teachers and they say, I want to be a teacher because of Miss So-and-so, or Mr. So-and-so, a coach, or a teacher that said blah, whatever it was. Or the opposite, because they said you'll never do the X, Y, and Z and you just are going to show them. I don't ever want students to hear those kind of things. Everybody wants to be validated. Everybody wants to have someone think that they're doing something pretty great. So, that's what I decided to do. I taught school for 25 years. And now I'm at Appalachian helping, trying to teach teachers how to do this teaching thing well. It's not rocket science, really. What do you want from your teachers? You want to learn. I just heard to learn. How is that lost on people? It's not about teaching, it's about learning. How about this? If you've ever been around teachers and teachers' lounges, probably not here, but some places, you'll hear, I don't know what their problem is, I taught it. Well, clearly you didn't, if they're not getting it, right? It's time to drop back and figure out a different way to do it. The most biology I learned was my first 5 years of teaching. That was the most biology I learned. I had to figure out how to explain it 17 different ways, or 30 different ways, or however many different children were in my classroom. If you're a coach and you have someone that is a 6'5", 300-pound lineman, you are not going to try to have them run a pass route, right? So when you have a classroom of 30 children, you are not going to expect that they're all going to have the same forte. They're not going to all have the same gifts. They're not going to all learn the same way. So you have to figure out how to do it differently. You have to figure out how each of your kids shine and then capitalize on that. So I think that to be a teacher is a gift. I don't think everybody can do it. I know you've heard the adage, those that can do, those that can't. I say those that can didn't have good teachers. Those that can't didn't have good teachers. When I ask students what they look for in teachers, they say two things. Well, they say lots of things, but when I extrapolate it all down, it says they want them to be smart and they want them to care. Kids who don't think you care about them aren't going to tune in to what you're selling, unless they're just very intrinsically motivated to learn in spite of a bad teacher. They're not going to tune in. So how do you get them to tune in? You care about them. You don't pretend to care about them. You care about them. I defined myself by who they were. They don't get it in third period biology, I'll go to their basketball games. Miss Beasley, where were you last night? What? Where were you last night? I didn't see you at the basketball game. Daniel, there were 3,000 people at the basketball game. How in the world did you know that I wasn't there? Mrs. Beasley, I always find you. This kid would never have given me the time of day in class. I always find you. I thought you may have been sick. It's my little ninth grader that got moved up to varsity and was petrified that he was moved up to varsity. He shared that with somebody in class. I overheard it. I started going to all of his games. Guess he started getting A's and B's in science. Not because I sat at his ball game, but because I wanted to see him do something great, and he knew that. That's the kind of stuff that matters. He's now a basketball coach at BMI. Probably shouldn't have said what school. He's assistant basketball coach. He just had a new baby, just sent him a little outfit. He sent me a picture yesterday of her wearing a little outfit. Daniel and I still keep in touch because those are the kind of things that matter. One day, knock, knock, knock on the door in the classroom. One of those days I had like 100 interruptions. I said, what? Get the door. Miss Beasley, there's a soldier at the door. There's a soldier at the door. Well, let him in. Come on in. Anybody else out there? So here it comes, Tim, that I had taught a few years before. Tim was vanilla. I don't mean in color. I mean, Tim was every generic, medium, great student. They weren't the tippy top of the class. They weren't the bottom of the class. They never really caused any attention to be drawn to themselves. In a class of 30, Tims can get ignored. What I remembered the most about Tim was he finished his work first, almost always, and instead of pulling out other work to do, he always looked to his right and his left to see if anybody else needed help. But he was petrified if I ever had him come up in front of the room and do something. That is literally all I remembered about Tim. He walked in the door, thank heavens I remembered his first name, and I saw him. He's in full Marine fatigues. He comes in with this ramrod straight back, starts talking about his just coming back from Iraq, sharing things with kids. Miss Beasley, can I use your computer? Pops in his DVD. He's showing pictures. He says, oh, what time is it? I gotta go. I said, okay, sure. And he said, my parents are in the car. I said, your parents are in the car? He said, yeah, we just got back from the airport. He came to school first, before the child went home, to come to see me. Because he said, Mrs. Beasley, I'll never forget you told me I would be a great man one day. I just wanted to show you. Okay, now if you can put a price on that, then you can have that job. Because there is nothing that feels like, I promise, I'm so embarrassed, sorry. I miss my kids, but I think what we don't realize is every time you interact with others that look to you for advice and for counsel, it's so that they really are learning. Kids can't have too many grown-ups in their life that care about them. And their teachers are tremendous influencers. When I was in high school, my parents were really stupid, and then they got exponentially smarter as I continued on. So I think I'll just end there. Can we end there and take questions? Okay, thank you.